We invited people to share about their experience because I think it's really valuable to hear, number one, from people at different stages in their career, but also at different stages of their experience with Career Strategy Lab. And one thing you might be wondering is, how does career strategy work if everyone is following the same process, but one person has 10 years of experience and one person maybe has 1 year of experience or 3 years, something like that? And one question we're asked all the time is, how does this work if and then insert whatever unique thing might exist about you? Like, you have a lot of experience, you don't have enough experience, you feel like there's just all these unique things about you, and you wonder, how does this consistent process, really our sprint process that we teach in Career Strategy Lab, work if you insert the blank, right? Insert the thing about you. Mariah is in Atlanta, user researcher with 4 years experience and then 10 plus years in customer support, client relations, etc. But I want to give you a chance to tell us a little bit more about you, what you do, and where you're at in your journey with Career Strategy Labs.
Okay, so I'm Mariah. I'm a user researcher and experience strategist. And for the past 4 years, I've been doing my own thing in consulting and specifically working with life coaches, business coaches, neurodivergent coaches, like people who are helping people through group programs and one-on-one coaching programs. So that's a little bit of background on how I came up into user research and experience strategy. I entered into CSL primarily because I was looking for roles specifically in Copenhagen. That was just my end all be all destination, love it there. And in order to be there, I need a work visa, a student visa, or marriage. And so I figured the best route for me is going with the work visa. And I've been full-time job searching specifically in Copenhagen and decided to join CSL to help me out with that process. And I ended up wrapping up CSL, the program, on June 6th. Took about a week celebratory vacation, and now I'm back on this call to share my experience, which I'm really excited to do. So thank you for inviting me.
We're really excited to hear more about your journey and, what you were able to achieve, not only like tangibly with your resume and portfolio and things, but also like shifts that maybe happen personally and where you are now versus where you were like in December or something like that. Yeah. I want to switch gears a little bit and like rewind time and think about like, what was the state of affairs when it came to your job search and or, your career in general before you joined Career Strategy Lab? Because just kind of to clarify, some people join Career Strategy Lab like proactively because they're in a job search and they need help right now. And other people join, they're happy in their job or they're not actively looking for a job, but they join proactively to get stuff in order now so that if an opportunity came their way or if a layoff happened or something, they would be ready to go.
I can do that. Also, excuse me, I'm over caffeinated today and hyperverbal, so buckle up.
All right, we are here for it.
Okay. So yeah, I came into Career Strategy Lab after experiencing I think it was about a year and a half of job searching full time, specifically with the idea of moving to Copenhagen. And I know somebody had mentioned like being interested in moving abroad and how this Career Strategy Lab could potentially help with aspects of that as well. And I might touch on that later. But I came into Career Strategy Lab because I was in extreme burnout. I had been trying everything I possibly could on my own. I was like trying to game the system of like, finding resources, figuring out, okay, what worked for other people. Let me find some inspiration from other people's portfolios and specifically around research. How do I implement the things that I'm seeing work for other people into my own materials? And I mean, I think everybody, whoever has created a portfolio before, can understand the never-ending cycle of portfolio iterations. And I had been doing that for 18 months. And I was just at my wit's end. I ended up attending one of these, an open house with a couple of alumni, and really got a sense of like, okay, this feels right for exactly what it is that I'm needing right now, specifically talking about the mindset calls and the community aspect and feeling less alone in the job search process and learning from one another. And having that cookie cutter standard structure was really appealing to me because I was like, chaos brain, just trying to figure out which spaghetti noodles stuck to the wall. And that was a recipe for burnout. So I ended up signing up with CSL also because the open house that I attended had Stephen on the call.
Mm.
And he ended up going into his own agency. And that was another selling point for me of seeing somebody else who's done consulting, who went through the program and came out on the other side. Also, as a consultant, it doesn't have to be full-time job seeking. So that was like the major selling point for me, and ended up joining. Really glad that I did. I say this, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I recommend like anybody who's just entering into the job market, getting involved in this type of program right away is so helpful and is like truly worth it in the long run. From my perspective, from my experience being in the job search for so long without results, and that having an impact on my mentality, that having an impact on my energy levels and resulting in burnout. And that's not good for anybody to show up for the job search with. So yeah, once I started CSL, I got immediately involved in the mindset calls, which made a ton of difference. And I think that that is a huge thing that sets this program apart from anything else that I've come across. So props to the CSL team for that, for sure. And that is something that I would recommend to anybody just starting out in the program as well. And yeah, did I answer the question?
Yeah, I'm curious if you can say just like one or two sentences more about like the mindset calls, because people hear mindset and it's one of those words. It's like, are we sitting around like, chanting or like visualizing or like what does that actually mean? And it's kind of like a catch-all word, but we kind of differentiate the calls as like there's the Q&A call where it's like, here's a question about my resume. We'll answer the question. We'll move on. But how would you kind of describe like what happens on the mindset calls?
The coaches here show up on the mindset calls as kind of being like a guide of almost counselor-esque of asking the questions and helping ask deeper questions for you to come to your own conclusions. And that also plays a huge role in like uplifting self-confidence, self-esteem. It's really focused around like the challenges, the pain points, the hesitation points that we're having as participants in this job search strategy,
Mm-hmm.
while at the same time uplifting and supporting and pointing out all of the strengths and the opportunities and the window openings that we do have as unique individuals. And so the mindset calls are like an open space for us to come and talk through these things and talk through them in a community space so that you're not stuck in your head. And so you're not ruminating on your own thoughts. You're getting them out into the open. You're sharing them. You're processing them. And I don't know about you, but as soon as I start reflecting on like my career journey, some uncomfortable emotions tend to pop up, and that it's very helpful to be able to process those week to week with a community. And knowing that like people show up to these calls as open or as closed as they want to. It's a safe space to be able to chat through some of these things. And the thing that I really recognized was you get out what you put in.
Mm.
And this specifically the mindset calls, you get out what you put in. And the more that you show up, the more it encourages others to show up, the more that the community actively participates and thrives together. So
Yeah.
I'll be a promotional spokesperson for the mindset calls.
No, we love to hear it because it's one thing for me to sit here and like talk all about what happens, but it's so different to hear, from other people. So I think your perspective is so valuable. And like to summarize with a super cliche quote or analogy, it's like, have you ever heard that phrase, like a rising tide lifts all boats? And I kind of roll my eyes every time I hear that, but it's true, right? Yeah. I feel like we could keep talking for like 3 hours here. We don't have 3 hours, unfortunately. And we've talked a lot about mindset and confidence, and feel free to add more points to that. But our next kind of official question, maybe we can talk about like thinking back to your initial maybe 4, 6 weeks in Career Strategy Lab. Like, what are some examples of tangible things you did that you really, in hindsight, feel like were very impactful or very memorable, or, you know, helped you feel more confident? I'm not sure what, but kind of just switching from like mindset stuff to more, you came into CSL, there's these 5 sprints. What was your kind of initial take on the first couple of sprints, and thinking back that far? Does anything stand out to you?
Hell yeah. Yeah. So like coming into this from a state of burnout as well, like that, I can't overstate that enough. Like I thought I was losing my marbles. Like I felt like the never ending job search. I was like, I feel like I'm super skilled in the job search, but am I? Because I still don't have an outcome, like all of that kind of thing versus like, you know, experiencing this. I felt this skill regression almost
Mm,
in what it is that I actually do, because all of my focus, all of my attention, all of my wheels were spinning around the job search itself. So when I entered into Career Strategy Lab, and I also like I said, I first jumped into the mindset calls, and that had the most major impact on me showing up with motivation to do the actual coursework. And that very first sprint, the compass statement, the career roadmap, again, like that was something that definitely also had an impact on my mindset, on my confidence, on my self-esteem related to being a researcher, uh,
mm,
because I was able to reflect on, I know who I am. I'm very confident in knowing who I am, my voice, how I show up, my personality, which is so interesting to reflect on that now after coming into that sprint with this like really low self-esteem, kind of like the complete opposite of like, do I even know what I'm doing? Do I know who I am? What is going on? The state of the world. It feels like everything's on fire anyway. Just like so much going on in Mariah's mind. So that career roadmap and the compass statement helped me to like synthesize. It really did. It helped me to
yeah.
synthesize like everything that was going on in my head, and to help me to really guide myself with the structure of the program. And like the mindset podcast, the career roadmap, and the compass statement, those things specifically helped me the most throughout my journey of CSL. But also those are also the same things that I'm going to be like coming back to regularly,
Mm,
like long term. It's not just a one and done experience. Like those are really impactful for me moving forward. Like I'm going to be using that in my own website, like in my own presentation of myself, and helping to have that be put into words in like a simplified, because everybody as an individual is very complex, and we have all of these desires, and we have all of these experiences and things that we have faced over time and in our lives. And how do we communicate that professionally while balancing also showing up as a human and connecting with people in our humanity, in our individual experiences? And so having that helps me to like also not show up robotically, because
mm,
when I was in that year and a half of job searching, I really felt like I lost myself in that process. I felt like I had just become this drone of like job searching only, trying to figure out the ATS life hack of how do I get through this system. And I I wasn't like really doing anything inspired. And so that compass statement helped me to re-inspire myself by connecting with my inner voice, and to help me to feel confident in sharing that inner voice with people in a very human way in business and in like job searching.
I really like how you said, or how I remember what I think you said this, like, it's not a one and done type activity, and how you plan to revisit a lot of this in the future. And, it kind of reminds me of brands that have like brand style guides, kind of. And the brand is always evolving and they're needing to update the style guide, etc. And it's a very similar, right, or very similar thing, like how you communicate to other people about what you do, your strengths, etc. And in the same way that a brand evolves, you're evolving as a professional and as a human too. And I love hearing that you're going to revisit this on a more regular basis.
Like balancing that, the personal with the professional, I think has been something that I've really been able to get out of CSL. And that is like mind blowing to me. Because I don't know where that really comes from in me, but like I really witnessed myself like really transforming in how I show up on paper and how I show up in person, and really bringing those two versions of me together, to be Mariah in front of you now. Like that going through this program helped me do that, which is like that was my unexpected outcome. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. I think it's really powerful for people to hear, especially, the point that you made about this being personal and professional, because sure, everyone wants to tick the boxes of resume, portfolio, LinkedIn, et cetera. But kind of this unexpected byproduct is, in doing all that, you grow as a person. And I often say, everyone wants confidence, but what people don't realize is like confidence is the byproduct of action. And a lot of the action you do in CSL helps generate that byproduct of confidence. All right. Our last question, I think we'll have time for. I think it would be great if we could hear just one piece of advice or wisdom or parting words that each of you have for everyone on this call. And I will leave it super open-ended.
Okay, yes. This is what I'm going to say. Overthinkers, perfectionists, and information hoarders. Just do it. Just like keep showing up and just do it. I think that that's kind of the main takeaway that I have for myself, and any like what I would suggest to anybody who's thinking of joining. And I was lucky enough to join in when I had 6 months access to the program. I know that typically it is a 3-month program. And so I would also say like for the 3 months to build in breaks as needed, but keep showing up and keep coming back to it. But breaks are needed as we are human and as we are processing all of the information, because it is a lot of information. It's good information, it's useful information, but allow your brain to take some breaks, allow your brain to take some rest, so that you can keep showing up, and so that you don't get too stuck on the details in your own head, and take action instead.
Great advice, especially the part about taking breaks and taking time to recharge, right? Because if you sit down to work on this and your tank is at empty, it's probably not going to go well, right? So yeah. Thank you, Mariah. I can't wait to visit you in Copenhagen sometime. I've never been to Copenhagen. So maybe this fall I'm going to be in Europe a couple of times. So we'll see.
Girl, we're getting on there. Oh yeah.
I can't wait. I've heard awesome things. And you also don't just have the Career Strategy Lab team, you have our whole alumni community, which is 650 something or 70 something, I don't even know what. And so I didn't set out to create community, but I guess I am creating a UX community in addition to Career Strategy Lab because our alumni community is so powerful and these relationships continue long after people end their time in Career Strategy Lab, and some of them have started to hire each other, which is mind-blowing to me. All right, Mariah, thank you so much for spending your afternoon a little bit with us. And that's all. Thanks for joining us. Have a good day and rest of your day, evening, morning, wherever you are in the world.